Shalom Yasharala, peace Israel, Call Halayim La, Allahayanawa, Abanawa, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKwadash. All praises to our power, our Father, Yahweh, in the name Yahweh Shai, in the name of Holy Spirit. Double honor to our teachers, the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of Israel, the house of David, beginning with the 140 and 4,000. King Trump will flex his plenary authority. King Trump will flex his plenary authority. All right. Now, the video you saw at the introduction of this lesson here was an AI video, supposedly that President Trump or King Trump himself posted. You know, this AI video of himself wearing a crown. He's in some type of, U.S. military fighter jet. Okay. And he's flying an aircraft over a crowd of protesters, which stands to reason that will be the No Kings protests that took place this past weekend, But, President or King Trump is in that U.S. aircraft wearing a crown, and he's dumping SHIT onto the crowd of protesters. All right, which goes to show you he doesn't give a damn about what you stand for. He doesn't give a damn about what you have to say about him. Anything and everything that you negatively say about him. At the end of the day, he's in that position. All right. And there is an agenda on the table. Okay. And ultimately, President Trump or King Trump is just a face. All right. We understand the inner workings. There are the wicked elite of Edom, the international banking families that are pulling the strings on King Trump, And once again, there is an agenda on the table. All right. Now, this is on CNN Politics. What is the Insurrection Act? Because as of late, this word insurrection has been thrown around a lot. In particular by, King Trump and his cabinet. The use of the word insurrection and invoking the Insurrection Act. All right. What is the Insurrection Act? Now, this was put up not too long ago, dated October 7th, 2025. President Donald Trump and his top aides are using the word insurrection more frequently to describe anti-ICE protests in places like Portland, which by these protests taking place, this gives him a reason to invoke what's called the Insurrection Act, Trump also told reporters he could potentially invoke the Insurrection Act to send U.S. troops to cities. And this is beyond the National Guard, man. If he invokes the Insurrection Act, that's power that stretches beyond deploying the Guard. Okay? And we'll read about it. I really think that's really criminal insurrection. He said in the White House of protests in Portland before promising to make the city safe. His aide, Stephen Miller, referred to a judge's order bearing, for now, the deployment of National Guard troops in Portland over the objections of local officials as legal insurrection. But once again, dealing with the Insurrection Act, that's going to stretch beyond deploying the National Guard, man. All right. Which let's jump down here. What is the Insurrection Act? Trump suggested he could invoke the Insurrection Act in order to send U.S. troops to Portland. It's one thing if you have the guard, but he wants to send in actual troops. Okay? He has already tried to label far left anti fascist or Antifa protesters as domestic terrorists. And this also goes to show you we're going to be labeled the same things. We're going to be labeled the same thing, or labeled the same thing. Those of us that profess to be the real Israelites, the biblical Israelites, okay? Those of us out here teaching on the street corners, we are going to be labeled domestic terrorists also. Okay? It's only beginning with these protesters, but they're going to throw that label on us too. We have an insurrection act for a reason, Trump said Monday. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. And he means what he says, man. You know? He means exactly what he says. The law allows the deployment of troops in the U.S. in certain limited situations. First passed in 1792, it was last tweaked in 1871. The Insurrection Act works in tandem with the Posse Comitatus Act, or Comitatus Act, which was passed in 1878 and generally prohibits the use of the military inside the U.S. But guess what? He could do it. He could still do it. How would the Insurrection Act be invoked? First, a state governor or legislator can request it. That's what happened in 1992. The last time the Insurrection Act was invoked, back then, President George H.W. Bush got a request from then California Governor Pete Wilson for help addressing riots in Los Angeles. Officials in Chicago and Portland seem unlikely to request that kind of help. But you know what? It could still come to that. You know? Instead, Trump could theoretically say he needs the military to enforce federal authority. All right? And we'll end off with this right here. The pertinent language includes this, which seems to give the president the final say when he or she, in this case he, King Trump, considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations or assemblages or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impracticable to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings. He may call into federal service such of the militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary. Right. So that's dealing with more than one branch. Just, use period of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or to suppress the rebellion. All right. And that's Jacob's trouble. All right. And we're still in the beginning of it now, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Now, this has been talked about as late as well. All right. Pertaining to the Insurrection Act being invoked that would grant President, aka King Trump, plenary authority or plenary power. All right. Now it says a plenary power or plenary authority is a complete or an absolute power to take action on a particular issue with no limitations. It is derived from the Latin term plenus, meaning full. All right. So the Insurrection Act would grant King Trump full power. Plenary power or full power, of the use of the armed forces. Okay? And once again, this has been talked about a lot as of late. You know, Insurrection Act. What is it, and does U.S. President have plenary authority? And he's going to show it. All right. Now let's read this definition here. Plenary authority. Plenary authority refers to power that is complete, comprehensive, and not subject to significant limitation. It denotes the full legal capacity to act on a matter without requiring additional approval or delegation. When applied to public officials or governmental bodies, the term plenary power is more commonly used. And once again, in this case, King Trump himself, you know? This put up 29 minutes ago. All right. This is on Mediaite.com. Unquestioned power. Trump warns fake Dems he'll use Insurrection Act to counter ICE resistance. And you know, you tribes are stupid, man. Because you see a lot of our people out there of the 12 tribes, you know, in particular, a lot of Northern Kingdom in certain parts of Chicago and really all over the U.S., they're actually resisting the ICE troops, you know. They're resisting ICE, you know, throwing things at them, you know, fighting them. They're resisting the ICE agents, okay, you know, fighting them, you know, certain Israelites from, you know, Venezuela, you know, etc. But this is only gonna give King Trump the reason to invoke the Insurrection Act. Now let's see if it'll let me play this.
We're going to go to San Francisco next.
We're going to go to San Francisco. The difference is I think they want us in San Francisco. San Francisco was truly one of the great cities of the world. And then 15 years ago, it went wrong. It went woke. Remember my statement? Anything woke is, and I used a filthy, well, broke is another word. I used a filthy word, but I didn't. No. I took enough heat on that. I won't say it again, but it's true. I mean, nothing changes, right? But
with Lord will, you know, YouTube won't act up with me playing this. You know, Lord will, they'll allow me to play this.
Go to San Francisco, and we're going to make it great. We're going to make it great. It'll be great. Again, San Francisco is a great city. It won't be great if it keeps going like this. Chicago's another one. So the head of the Union Pacific, who you probably had on your show, he started off as like a conductor, and now he's the chairman. Sort of a great story. His father worked for the railroad. The Union Pacific, great company. And he was in my office, and I talked to him because he knows all the cities. He said, "Sir, save Chicago. It's a great city. We're going to lose Chicago. Save Chicago." That was 2 months ago. And I said, "Let's do it." And I met with like this legal force. And don't forget, and I haven't used it, but don't forget, I can use the Insurrection Act.
There we go. See, hey, there we go. So you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. You know, let's rewind that. And Lord will, you two won't act up with me playing this, you know, because you know how they can be sometime.
And I met with like this legal force. And don't forget, and I haven't used it, but don't forget, I can use the Insurrection Act. 50% of the presidents almost have used that. And that's unquestioned power. I choose not to. I'd rather do this. But I'm met constantly by fake politicians that think that, you know, it's not like part of the radical left movement to have safety. These cities have to be safe. Our cities that are Democrat run, exclusively just about, are unsafe cities. They're a disaster. and I'm going to save the cities. You know, I didn't run on that. I ran on crime, but I didn't run on straightening out the city.
Yep, so there we go. Unquestioned power. If he invokes the Insurrection Act, I mean, so that's really it. So he didn't give a damn about those No Kings protests, man. He didn't give a damn about that, you know. So this is just something that we're going to continue to watch, okay? As America, Babylon the Great, is on fire right now by way of these protests, by way of the division, all right? We haven't seen anything yet, man. It's going to get more crazier than this, Will Trump use the Insurrection Act at No Kings protest this weekend? And he could have, you know? So, yeah, ultimately we'll see, man. Yeah, speaking about Chicago, speaking about these Democratic cities, all right? Trump's threat to invoke Insurrection Act escalates showdown with Democratic cities, So we're in a very, very great time, man. All right? So there's just something we're going to continue to watch. Abba Ratzah, Father will, this is edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto our power, our Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKwadash, double honor. Unto our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who still rule well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, the house of David. Shalom.